Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actor Richard Chamberlain and actor-director Bryan Fogel. Actor, author Richard Chamberlain was born and raised in LA. He went to Beverly Vista Elementary School, Beverly Hills High School, and graduated from Pomona College. You've seen him on the stage, in TV roles, and in film. We all remember that handsome Dr. Kildare. Richard won a Golden Globe for that. And the unforgettable Blackthorn in Shogun and Father Ralph in The Thornbirds. He was in Fathers and Sons at the Cannon Theater and played Cyrano de Bergerac at the Amundsen Theater, which were local plays, but of course he has been on the stage all over the world. Richard, when you called the other day and you said, "This is Richard Chamberlain," I just stopped dead and I went, "Dr. Kildare!" I was so excited because we all wanted a Dr. Kildare in our lives.
Yeah, I'm afraid he misled a lot of people. They thought going to the hospital was really great.
Did you know anything about medicine when you started that role?
Hardly anything.
Did you have to know anything?
We had a technical advisor, in fact several, who were extremely helpful. One of them got me in to watch all kinds of surgery and things at UCLA, which I wasn't legally supposed to be watching. But no, I didn't know, I never have known much about medicine.
But it lasted for 5 years.
Yes, it did.
And it was actually the beginning of those shows about lawyers and detectives, and wasn't it? You were like a pioneer.
Pretty much at the beginning, yes.
It was before Ben Casey.
No, we were exactly the same time.
Oh, he was very macho, and you were very like good bedside manner.
Yeah, we were neck and neck the whole time. We were fiercely competitive.
Well, it was the two different kinds of doctors, wasn't it? Yeah. You were very sweet. When you started high school, did you think you were going to be an actor?
Well, it's the only thing I ever wanted to be from swaddling clothes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but I had big self-esteem problems and was very shy and withdrawn and stuff. So I wasn't sure that I could ever actually do it, but it's what I wanted more than anything.
Well, you got the role for Dr. Kildare through Raymond Massey. Was that right?
Partly.
Partly. How did that happen?
Well, I was just starting out, and
You'd finished college already.
I'd finished college. I'd been in the Army for 2 years. And then I came back, and a friend of mine in acting school got me to meet her father, who was producing, Norman Lloyd, who was producing Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And he hired me for an Alfred Hitchcock, and I was playing Raymond Massey's son, one of his sons. And we got on great. And so later, about a year later, when they were casting Dr. Kildare, they decided they wanted me, and Raymond had approval. And because we had gotten on so well, he approved me. So I'm very thankful for that.
So that was great, because that was it. Was it a career aha moment?
Oh, totally. One of the great breaks of all time. I mean, it was incredible.
You were brought up in Beverly Hills, and your father started, your mother started Al-Anon.
Yes, she was very, very busy in Al-Anon.
And I was with my friend Marcia Harrow today, and I said we were gonna have you on the show, and she said, "Oh, Chuck Chamberlain. They still talk about him in AA, and they still read his books."
Yes. Yes.
Was that an influence on your life?
Well, yeah, he was a drunk until I was 14, and that was difficult. And then he got into AA and became an extremely popular speaker in AA.
Amazing.
All over the world, they would.
Because that was the first thing she said. She said, "Oh, I love Dr. Kildare, and we love the Shogun and the Thornbird," but Chuck was the one who really, wasn't that interesting?
Yes, yes.
So was it tough on you as a child growing up?
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, he didn't beat us up or anything, but he was He was not easy to live with.
And your mother knew what to do then to start that Al-Anon, which was like family things,
he
right?
got into AA first, and then she went to Al-Anon, and then she became very instrumental in starting groups and things. When they moved to Laguna Beach, she started the Laguna Beach Al-Anon also, I think.
So that's a real tribute.
Yeah.
To take, you know, a malady like that and turn it around.
Yes.
And so at that point, did they want you to be on the stage? Did they want you to act?
Well, they didn't discourage me. They didn't say you must not do that, but they didn't have high hopes for me either, because I was, as I say, such a shy kid.
But he was like a booming personality.
Yes, he was.
And to be on
Huge.
stage, you have to be a booming personality too,
yes,
right?
yes.
So you got some of that.
Well, yeah, yeah, but it was deeply hidden for a long time.
Was it?
Yeah.
You were on stage in between these TV things. How did you keep everything fresh? How did you keep Dr. Kildare fresh?
Well, vanity, probably. I mean, you never want to be on film doing less than your best.
That's true.
And it's always a new show and a new director, new actors, and so it stays fresh.
And when you were in Cyrano, did you play that choice role at other places than the Amundsen?
No, only at the Amundsen. I did several. I did Night of the Iguana and several other things at the Amundsen.
The Amundsen was great. Did you like working there?
Well, it's actually a horrible theater to work in, but it was a wonderful group and the people were wonderful. So I had good times there, but the theater is tricky.
Why? Because the stage or the...
It's not very well designed, and they had terrible sound problems for a long time.
They changed it, didn't they?
They did, and apparently it's greatly improved.
Oh, good. I'm sorry you went through those things.
Well...
And then when you did Blackthorn, I love the story because I was reading Shattered Love over the weekend, and I love the story when you met James Clavell, and all he did was talk about himself. Tell us about that.
Well, he didn't. It's not that he talked about himself. It's that he basically, you know, he was the last of the Buccaneers. He had a dueling scar and he had a limp, and he was a big,
he really
romantic guy. Yeah.
Oh, he was.
And he didn't want me for Blackthorn. He wanted Sean Connery. And Sean Connery was busy, and then he wanted an English actor rather than me, but the network wanted me. And so he agreed to meet me a couple of times. And so I put on about 30 T-shirts under because I knew he wanted Sean Connery, under my shirt. And I sort of talked sort of low and stuff like that and tried to win him over. And he wasn't won over, and then he invited me to their house, and I got on very well with his wife. And finally,
you met him at the hotel? Is that where you met him?
I met him at the Beverly Wilshire.
Oh, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, yeah.
And he actually stuck around. He still wasn't convinced that I was right for the part. And he stuck around the first 2 weeks shooting, watching me like a hawk, because if I'd put a foot wrong, he was going to, you know, replace me. But he ended up being very happy.
And what was that character? What did you have to do for that character?
Well, I read a lot. He was a real man, and the story is very much based on fact. And we called the Shogun Tokugawa, but it was Toranaga. It was really Tokugawa, and he really was this Blackthorn really was shipwrecked at about 1600 in Japan, and knew nothing about Japan. Had never actually taken a bath, much less done anything Japanese. And so he got in big trouble. But Toranaga knew that he would be useful because he knew all the Western ways, and so they became friends.
I see.
And that's what saved Blackthorn.
How did you research it?
Oh, there's lots of books about Japan at the time and about Blackthorn at the time.
Did you go to Japan at that time?
We were 6.5 months in Japan.
Oh, that's where you did,
Yes.
Everything was there?
Yes.
So you were researching as you went along, probably, and learning,
well, yes,
right?
Yes.
And you became that character, obviously.
Well, one does, sort of. Yeah, that's the trick.
6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And did he do? Clavell wrote a lot of those type of factual books, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And then the other one, I think that everybody knows you from is Father Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about him.
Well, poor Father Ralph. He was he was torn. You know, people are often in dramas torn 2 ways. He was torn 3 ways.
Oh.
He loved God, had a genuine vocation. He loved the glamour of the church and the power of the church. And he really loved Meggie.
Oh, the women. How did he get along with the women?
Well, he with Meggie, he sort of fell for her when she was a little girl. I mean, there was this soul connection. It's not that he wanted to bed her as a little girl, please, but they had this kind of soul rapport. And as she grew up and finally blossomed into this beautiful, beautiful woman, he fell head over heels in love with her.
So he was torn.
Oh, totally.
Totally torn. And one of the things that I know when I read Shattered Love is you followed a path of spirituality. Did it come after Father Ralph?
Well,
or was it all
interestingly enough,
along?
my father wasn't all bad. He introduced me to a man named Ernest Holmes, who started the Church of Religious Science. And
was that right
stuff
over
like
where
that.
you lived?
Yeah, that was very near.
Yeah, very near where you lived.
And he used to take me to hear Ernest speak. And Ernest was a kind of metaphysician and not connected with any particular religion, but a very, very spiritually gifted man. And that was a big influence on me. And so as life progressed and I met up against various roadblocks within myself, I did seek out some teachers and therapies and all that sort of thing.
And you worked with that.
Yeah.
Why would you write a memoir so young? You're so
well,
young.
No, I was
really.
68 when I wrote that.
Well, it's still young.
I think it's 68 young now.
I think it's young.
I didn't plan to. I didn't want to write a book. But Judith Regan, who was a very high-powered publisher, wanted me to write a sort of coming-out book years before I wrote this, and I didn't want to do that.
Oh.
And then later I was talking to her about pushing another writer for a project, and she said, "What about your book?" And I said, "What do you mean, my book?" And she said, "Well, what would you like to write about?" I was sitting in a parking lot, actually, talking to her on her cell phone. And I said, "Well, I've been thinking a lot about life. I'd like to write about how we live our lives." And she said, "Okay, send me 5 pages." And so I wrote 5 pages.
Oh, you did?
And sent them to her, and she said, "Great, let's do it."
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how it started?
And so it was really going to be kind of a philosophical book, but they kept saying, "You've got to make it more personal. You've got to make it more personal."
It's very personal.
And so I did make it more personal.
And how did you feel about divulging all your stories?
Oh, fine.
Was good?
Fine. Oh, yeah. Just great. Everything was fine.
So it all worked out. I think one of the stories that I loved was the Maria Tallchief story.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
That was bizarre. Maria Tallchief was a great, great, great ballet dancer with the New York City Ballet, married
Right.
Balanchine.
Right. And
So-
she lived in Beverly
and she
Hills?
grew up, across the alley. We lived in a very modest part of Beverly Hills. And she grew up across the alley and was more my brother's age, I think. And I was vaguely aware that she was a dancer and stuff. She was not big time by then. But one day I found, we used to go alley hunting. And
We all do alley
we'd
hunting.
Find light bulbs and this and that, and
Old
take
chairs.
take home these treasures. And I found in her trash can once a tutu, pink yet, and some ballet slippers.
I love
And
it.
I loved to dance when I was a kid. I loved it. So I ran home and I put on this tutu and I put on these ballet shoes and was jumping around the house dancing. And of course, when my parents and brother and father saw this little boy in a tutu, they thought something was very wrong here.
I thought that was so funny
Yeah, it was
because
funny.
it was very visual.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of alley hunting and the whole
Yeah.
idea of coming in with something like that. And then the big no-no,
Yes.
like they just turned their back on
Yes,
you. And
yes.
you were like very upset.
A bit. Yeah.
Yes. You lived in New York for a while,
Yes, I did in the 70s, about 5 years.
and then you now live in Hawaii,
Yes.
and big difference.
Oh gosh, New York and Hawaii.
Big difference.
It's just amazing going back and forth because I'd be in Hawaii for months and months and then suddenly have to go to New York and be in this amazing energy and all this razzle dazzle.
From laid back.
I love that. Yeah, from very laid back to very hyped up.
And from LA, why did you move to Hawaii to live?
Well, I always wanted to live on the beach. I love the sea, and we had a house actually in Malibu for a little while, but then decided that really Hawaii might be the place, and so we went looking and found this Wonderful, wonderful place, way out in the Tules, on the sea.
And who do you live
bought
with
it.
there?
Martin Rebet.
What's his name?
Martin Rebet.
Rebet?
Yeah.
And he's a very big designer and theater.
He's,
Was he
well,
in
he's
theater?
many things.
Oh, he's many things.
Yeah, he's done a lot of producing. He's done a lot of directing. He's actually acted and sung, and he can do everything. He's a brilliant director.
Sounds fantastic. Is he still working now?
He does occasionally, yes.
Well, I'm so glad that you came to tell us about Shattered Love. And can I finish reading it?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks. My pleasure.
And thanks for being with us on this part of the show. We'll be right back with Bryan Fogel. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with Bryan Fogel, playwright, author, director, who was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, and graduated from the University of Colorado Boulder. Byron co-authored a book in 2006 published by Warner Books called Utopia, the chosen book for the chosen people. It sold over 85,000 copies and landed him on ABC's The View. But prior to that, there was Utopia, The World of Utopia, and you called these brands? All these Utopia things, are they brands? There's 3 different kind of things, Bryan. What is it?
I wouldn't really call it a brand. I mean, Utopia is a play.
Yeah.
World of Utopia was created as kind of a companion to the shows, so that the guy that I created Utopia with, originally Sam Wolfson, that we could go and tour around the country and do stand-up comedy with.
That's what it was. Did the 2 of you do stand-up comedy?
Yeah, I still tour with that. I still go into performing arts venues and perform.
You did stand-up in over 30 cities? How do you book that many different places?
Probably more than that.
More than that?
Yeah.
How do you book them? Where do you go? Into small little towns?
No, we generally play like big performing arts centers.
Really?
Like the equivalent of like what would be the Amundsen here.
And you do a stand-up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
World of Utopia.
Oh.
And so we'll go in and I did the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia, which is their major performing arts venue, and a few months ago. Next month I'm in Pittsburgh at the Bynum, which is their big performing arts center.
Do you do it all alone?
I travel with Jeremy Risch, who was the co-star of Utopia New York. And so I've taught him the show, and we go and perform.
That's great. So in 2003, this opened at the Coast Theater in Los Angeles, right?
Yep.
And in 2004, it was at the West Side Theater in New York for a long time.
Yeah, the original Utopia, which started in LA, ran for 300 some odd shows.
And you were in it.
Yeah, starred in it.
So did the Risch star in it with you?
No, Risch came in once I left the show in New York. I left the show in New York.
Oh, you did it in New York too?
Yeah, I left the show in New York about 2 years into the run after doing 8 shows a week.
And writing it, and how did you keep your energy up? Because it's pretty intense on stage.
Yeah, I think it was just more, it's the psychological process that you go through of like, hey, there's 300 people here. They haven't seen the show.
Right.
They spent $70 for a ticket. I better go out there and give them a good show. And so I think every night it's just trying to find nuances or trying to deliver a joke a different way, a line a different way.
Do you make up anything along the way?
Oh, always, always. It was constantly like basically trying to like entertain yourself is what I found. Even with like touring with World of Utopia, which is like stand up and performance, it's just kind of I think it becomes almost figuring out ways to entertain yourself and see if you can get somebody to laugh in the process.
Keep yourself up.
Right.
Well, after you did all of that, you started here, you went back to New York, you came back again now with this Jew bill and Utopia at the
Greenway.
Greenway
Court in West Hollywood. Well, I've been in the process for the last couple years of trying to get a movie going that I'm attached to direct, and
I see.
and it's very, very loosely adapted from Utopia, called O'Connell and Lipschitz Lose Their Religion.
Oh, that's the name of the film?
Of the
Okay,
film.
well, tell us the story of Utopia and what it means.
Well, Utopia is about a Gentile guy. Chris O'Connell wants to marry a Jewish girl, so he'll never have to make another decision. I mean, that's pretty much the core of the story. And Utopia is actually a pseudonym for J-Date, where he sets up his buddy Adam to go and
Is that
shop
what it
for a
is?
Jew.
Utopia?
Yeah.
I thought Utopia was, when I saw it, I always thought it was like this never, never land
Well,
that
yeah,
everyone wanted to be in.
Right, which is J-Date, basically.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the funny ones are the J-Date pieces on stage.
Right. Those are all the insane dates that his buddy sets him
Okay,
on.
my friend Marcia Harrow saw it last weekend, and she thought it was absolutely hilarious. And when I told her you were going to be on the show today, she said, the first thing you have to do is find out if he's married.
I am.
This
I
is a
always
Jewish
get this.
mother.
I always get this.
Do you?
Yeah. No, I'm not married. I'm single, but I have a girlfriend. So
And how autobiographical is this play?
luckily, not very.
No? I don't believe it. How did you get all these ideas?
The impetus for the original, for the seed of the idea was, Sam and I were friends with this guy here in LA, and he was a Gentile guy from Missouri, and he had basically never met a Jew, and he started dating a Jewish girl, and he just loved it, because literally she took over his life.
Did he really say that?
No, he loved it. All of a sudden she was shopping for him, changing his wardrobe, changing his house, designing, where she was going to hang the art, rearranging everything about him, what he ate, what his diet was.
Making reservations.
Making reservations. She just took over, and he loved it. And we were like, this is really funny. And
these are all the things we hate. How could you think that's good?
And
right?
about a year later, my sister, she since divorced from this guy. First guy she married was a Gentile guy, and he had never dated a Jewish girl. And this guy literally wanted to convert, and actually went through a conversion to be Jewish, because he was just, literally he grew up, hunting and fishing, and the family had pink flamingos on the front yard and would travel in a Winnebago. I mean, all the stereotypes.
Of a Gentile.
Grew up in a suburb of Denver. All the Gentile stereotypes. Their fancy restaurant was the Sizzler, and and he met my sister, and he was like, "Hey, I like these Jews. They go into a restaurant and just kind of alter their meal beyond all recognition. They, she encouraged him to go back to college and start, she came in and started
So he loved it.
fixing him. So he loved it, wanted to convert to Judaism, went through it. And so it was kind of these two experiences where I was like, maybe we should write something about this.
I think all of those things are in the play.
Yeah,
Everything
definitely.
that you've talked about today. How did you cast it?
The casting was, I certainly knew. I had never directed the production. I'd always directed it by proxy. We've had productions of the show in Chicago, Florida, Toronto.
Oh, you have.
Is in New York. It's been licensed everywhere, and
Did
the
you go?
productions.
Did you go to all those places?
Yeah, but I didn't perform them.
I see, but you went and
I
saw.
was producing,
I see.
and so in Chicago, I was involved in the casting and ultimately chose the cast. Same in Florida, same in New York, even in the production that that I was starring in, chose the other cast, and but had never really fully directed. It was always, we had a director, and then once he was gone and everything, it was always me whispering,
What
a
to
note
do.
into the ear
Right.
of the director, going, "Hey,
Right.
let's have him do this."
Right.
And so I'd always wanted to direct the show, and I wanted to kind of put a fresh take on it. So I went back to the drawing board about 6 months ago and started looking at the show, and updating and revising and tweaking and changing things and
you made a better
you
made a better brand.
I feel like the show that's playing in LA right now is, in my opinion, better than the New York production ever was.
Well, tell us, it is at the Greenway Court. It's what, 99 seat?
We've got more than that in
More
there,
than
but
that?
yeah.
And it's interactive in a way, because when you come and sit down in the audience, people start coming and sitting next to you.
Exactly.
Is that something new?
Yeah, that was a new thing that I wanted. The show starts at a singles mixer. And so I figured, rather than, lights go dark, here comes the music, there's the start of the show. Well, you're at a singles mixer.
Right.
So might as well make the audience uncomfortable as they're coming into the theater.
They do.
And about 5, 6, 7 minutes before the show starts, I have all the cast coming out on stage and literally trying to pick up members of the audience.
I know, and they come and sit next to you and start asking.
Next to them, and sit next to you.
Right.
And it's been a really fun way to just kind of like have this easy transition into the start of the show.
What kind of audience does it have to be? Do you have to be Jewish to enjoy it?
I don't think so. I mean, I think our audiences are probably about 65% Jewish, but I think you certainly need to know a Jew, have dated a Jew.
Do you need the glossary of terms? Because in the Jew bill, it has a glossary of terms.
It does have a glossary of terms.
So that helps out, huh?
But I think it's, I think the story is really Greek wedding. I mean, sure, if you're Jewish, there's a handful of jokes that are gonna land that much.
They're like blonde jokes,
harder, right?
Aren't they, in a way? Because you could put an Armenian in, you could put a Jew in,
But at the end of the day, I mean, I think most of the comedy is universal, and it's a story of two guys trying to find love and their families that have messed them up in the process. So
yeah, there could be a serious side to it too.
Sam and I, all along the way, tried to lose that. We never. We used to have parts in the show that were like probably had a deeper, more philosophical meaning or a little bit serious, and most of those things have fallen by the wayside in place of, if it's not getting a joke and it's not a laugh, this isn't the right show for it, and we want it.
So you really routinely stayed away. Did you choose the music?
Yeah.
Did you write the music at the end?
Sam and I did.
Did you? Because it's like finishing up like a musical.
Yeah, and then for this production, what was different was it used to be that the actor would come out on stage playing guitar and would just play along to an acoustic guitar, and I had the idea to really get it orchestrated and composed, and went to a friend of mine who plays about 20 instruments. He's a composer, literally like a symphony composer. And he brought in all of his friends. And so now in the last piece, I mean, if you're listening, there's oboes and trombones and trumpets.
I said, it sounds like a great musical.
There's a whole, and so took basically the music that we had created, just to, that's how all music starts. Here's the piano notes.
Right.
Here's the the chords on the guitar, and then you orchestrate it.
Right.
And so that's what I did this time around, and it's been fun.
Well, it has been fun, and it was fun having you today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching. Keep writing, JAQUINN1 at AOL.com and 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. See you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.